Okay, finish or fail day two. Welcome to finish or fail day two, part two, number two. Let's roll the damn dice. We got Tsue to Tsuru. This is Wistoria again. All right, maybe fuck it. Maybe we just watch season one and two of Wistoria. All right, let's watch season one of Wistoria. If it's bad, I'll just drop it and I'll strike. You know what? Let's. This is a fine compromise. Okay, we knew this was gonna happen at some point. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Fuck it. We interrupt our regularly scheduled broadcast to respond to Unim, who is watching this right now. I see you. I see you, Unim. Damn, L on dropping Awaji Machiake. There's actually quite a lot to the show, particularly in the directing. Morio Osaka, same director as Cardcaptor Sakura, Chihaya Furu, Galaxy Angel, etc., and the non-linear way that the narrative is laid out. It's by the same mangaka as Horo Musko and has the same some of the same flavor. Okay, let me be real with you. Cardcaptor Sakura is great. Chihaya Furu I did not care for. I watched the whole season one, but I had no interest in continuing. And Galaxy Angel, I feel like I can't talk shit about Galaxy Angel, because it's like classic Moe stuff. But it has its problems. Galaxy Angel has its problems. Okay, it has its issues. I also don't really care about Hono Musco, so you know, arrest me, sue me, do whatever you need to do. But I don't know. Didn't do it for me. I could tell what kind of show it was from episode one. Okay, I've watched anime. I know how to recognize a terrible anime in just one episode. Okay, I've seen the tutorial. Um, yeah, I'm sticking by my damn decision. I'm sticking by my decision. Oh yeah, you may notice that the sound and video quality is better in this episode. I set it a little too low for the previous episode, and it was kind of mostly the audio quality. I set it too low, and it was actually kind of hard to understand what I was saying. So we're bumping it up a little bit to what is it, 800 by 600 or some bullshit. Okay, I watched three episodes of Wistoria. I really like it. I would say the issues the show really has is just too much focus on spectacle and kind of nothing else. Pretty much all three of those episodes that I watched are just the exact same episode, which is everyone underestimates main guy because he can't use magic, but he's actually the strongest guy with a sword, which is like, not an atypical premise, but normally you have something else, you know? This is, I think, why I like often like sort of low budget, low production value shows. They don't have spectacle to fall back on. It's like when a fight is happening and it's just a bunch of frames and impact frames and everyone's doing fights. It's like I don't care, you know. Like it looks good, I guess, but like there's no substance to it. It's pure spectacle. Um and yeah, it's just kind of the same thing over and over again. Uh like the kind of world seems interesting, but they didn't spend any time building it out. The main character is extremely flat. He just sort of has, it's sometimes the case that these sort of super driven shonen protagonists, like the sort of big emotional beat in episode two is like he's like, I want to be the best so I can be with the girl that I love, right? And it's like, yeah, but that's your only motivation. And I haven't actually seen you hanging out with the girl and like having good chemistry with her, like give me more character. Show me actually a dialogue scene of you two getting along super fucking well, not just some like dramatic bullshit where she tells you you're actually the kindest and the bravest in a flashback. No, I want to see you fucking hang out. I want to see how you get on because that's what actually loving someone is about, right? Um, that no, none of that. No, in fact, you bet the girl is just an object, right? The girl is not even uh characterized at all in this show. That he's in love with. She's just a reward for getting to the top. She's just the object he's chasing after, right? Excuse me. Uh, which like boring. It's boring. It's like you could give a fucking feminist critique and say it's like morally bad. I don't care, but more importantly, it's fucking boring. It's like I I actually care about. I need to be made to care about these characters. And just showing me a fight scene with a lot of frames is not enough. So when the first two episodes both just hinge on, hey, isn't this a fight scene with a lot of frames as like the big hook? It's not a hook for me. I understand it's a hook for some people. It's not a hook for me. I need more than a fight scene with a lot of frames to keep me entertained. I need more than jangling keys in front of my face to keep me entertained. There's no like real emotional core beyond the sort of cheesiest of all possible cheeses. Um, I appreciate that it sort of begins a little more in media res, but I kind of want reason to care about the main character. All I know about him is that he's like the coolest. He doesn't know magic, but he's the strongest guy and he's very smart. Okay, but like, give me something else. Give me some. That's not a personality. That's just abilities. That's just his technical facts about him. That's his stat sheet. Okay, cool. But like, what's his personality like? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. He doesn't really have one to speak of. He's very determined, I guess, but like that's not enough. Give me some quirk about him. Give me some. There's nothing. There's fucking nothing. Of course, there's nothing. Um. So yeah, not doing it for me. Wistoria. I kind of thought maybe I'll watch the whole. While at the end of episode 3, I was like, maybe I'll just watch this whole thing. I'll watch both seasons, and I won't like it, but I'll be able to say, you know what? I watched both seasons, and I didn't like it, and that would be like a good thing for the video, and it would be interesting or whatever. I'd be able to give more detailed criticism that way, which is good for the video. But we have a fuckload of anime to get through, and I just can't really afford to be doing shit like that right now in terms of just the sheer quantity of shows we have to get through. Um, so yeah, dropped on episode 3. Okay, we roll again. It's Higeki no Genkyo to Naru Saikyo Gedo Last Boss o Watami no Tame ni Tsukushimasu Season 2. Yeah, well, I haven't seen Season 1, so I think I'm not going to watch this. I'm not typically a fan of these otome game reincarnated type shows. Uh, So I don't. Yeah, I'm not gonna watch it. I should have taken the season twos out of this thing. I always forget to do that. Yeah, I've removed all the season twos for shows that I didn't watch season one of. Let's roll again. Kami no Niwatsuki Kusunoki-tei. Minato Kusunoki is assigned to manage his family's haunted abandoned countryside estate. However, thanks to his overwhelming spiritual power, Minato accidentally purifies the entire place, turning the once cursed property into a peaceful haven for wandering gods and deities. As Minato settles in, he finds himself surrounded by quirky divine neighbors and the lively chaos of life among the gods. Uh, could be interesting. Could be interesting. Uh, well, fuck it. I guess we'll give it a shot. Wait, there's so many. I don't know how, but like, where's like whatever. I guess we're just gonna keep rolling until I actually get to watch the shows I wanted to watch. But okay, let's give this a try. I don't know. I kind of feel stupid. So I've watched 4 episodes of this show, and I don't know how to feel about it. Like, I'm not the biggest. I liked the first few episodes. I liked it, and then it started to become less slice of lifey and more like, oh, you got to do quests. It became like you got to do quests now. Main character has to do quests, and it's like I liked it back when this was just a nice slice of life show. I don't know what these quests are about. I don't know how I feel about the quests, but I'm like, do I want to do I want to drop it or You know what? I'm gonna keep going a little bit longer and give it a test, and then we'll see. We'll see. Because I'm dropping a lot of shows, but I'm gonna drop a lot of shows naturally. Naturally, I'm gonna drop a lot of shows. And I'm gonna be relatively harsh. I'm being pretty harsh because I got lots of. It's not like I need a bunch of anime to keep me entertained. Like I got shit to do in my life. I got plenty. In fact, I got too much shit to do. I'm actually busy, which is unusual for me. Um, but I've got so much shit to keep me busy that I don't I don't need a bunch of anime. So it's fine if I drop a bunch of shit. I want to get back to light novels in a way. Not that I'm not enjoying this. I am enjoying this, but uh point is I'm willing to be harsh. But I don't know. I'll keep watching. I'll keep watching, but the show is on thin ice right now. I don't hate this show. Uh I like the whole Shinto thing it's got going on. I generally am a fan of that whole. I think it's very cool. I think the Shinto folklore stuff is just generally cool. Something I just like. Um, kind of wish I went more into that, to be honest with you. But yeah, as I said, it's at its strongest when it's just doing slice of life stuff, and as it tries to get away from that, it kind of loses itself, in my opinion. Um, I also kind of I don't know. I wish that there were more character. I don't really like these like three ferret looking guys that you can see. Like they're just kind of annoying and don't really serve much of a purpose. Um, the show gives me a kind of Naruto vibe. It is from a light novel, so it wouldn't surprise me if this was originally published on Naruto. Um, which I don't dislike, obviously. Uh, but I think it's kind of a middling. I'd say it's a middling type of show. It's not got anything super special about it. I could see myself finishing it theoretically, but I don't know if I'd have. Excuse me, I'm kind of sick. I'm always kind of sick. I don't know if I'd had a gr- have a great. I don't know if I'd have a great time. I feel like I would watch it and I'd be like, "Yep, I watched it," and I'd forget about it pretty quickly. Not to say that it's necessarily like terrible. Yeah, no, I think it's decent. I think if you're looking for a show to watch, you could definitely do worse than this from this season. Uh, but I don't really feel super compelled to finish it, so I'm gonna drop it. Uh, we got more shit that I'm more interested in getting to. Uh, so yeah. Okay, let's roll. And what do we get? We get Kanan-sama wa Akumade Choroi. Okay, this was one of the shows that was actually on my plan to watch because I saw the comical size of this main girl's booba on this poster, and I was like, that looks funny. I just like all of the booba are just insane, man. What's going on here? Kanan, a female demon, infiltrates a high school with the goal of devouring some delicious human souls. She sets her sights on the perfect target, a teen boy named Kyori, and goes for the kill, only to somehow end up in a relationship with him instead. Kanan's never been in love before, and the oddly innocent demon creates absolute chaos with the two venture into romance for the first date and beyond. Could be interesting. Could be interesting. Definitely gonna check it out. Well, I mean, that's the gimmick of the whole point is we check it out. So I don't know why I said that, but hey, I mean, I don't expect this to be actually that good. I I I don't know if I'll finish this. Generally, these types of shows aren't that good, but you know, fuck it. All right, I watched 2 episodes of Kanan-sama wa Akumade Choroi. I'm glad I watched 2 episodes of it. For some reason, I felt like I needed to see this. There's actually two reasons, and they're right here. uh, it's pretty much exactly what I expected, but slightly worse. It's less funny than I expected it to be. It's pretty obvious that this is like a ecchi rom-com situation, but there's not really much rom and there's not really much com, and this is frankly not very much ecchi either, because the main girl just gets hazkashi every time there's an ecchi, where she just kind of like prevents any like she sort of misunderstands things in a lewder way. You know what I'm saying? Um, wish it was lewder, then it might be more entertaining. I wish it was more ecchi. Uh, if it was more ecchi, it'd be better. It'd be more interesting. But it's actually not very ecchi at all. There's a lot of implications, but there's not very much. Um, and yeah, the main girl is not very cute. That's kind of all it comes down to ultimately, is like in a show like this, if the main girl is actually cute, then it can sort of carry everything else. But I didn't find myself getting a sense of moe while I was looking at her. And that's the sort of thing that's an accumulation of a number of sort of imperceptible uh, features, right? It's like there's no shortcut to moe. You just have to do it well, and I wouldn't say it's done well here. But you know, if there is a girl who genuinely is cute at the center of the show, then you can pretty much get away with anything. Uh, I didn't find that here myself, so I can't strictly speaking say that this does anything for me. I predict this has a pretty low rating. Oh, this is a 7? That's kind of higher than I expected for a show like this. Um, yeah, to Love Ru, I would say I mean, it's not really like a lot of those other shows, I don't know, but it's got someone made something, like it exists. This is the most I can say about it. It exists. Like I wouldn't say it was god awful, but it was generally unfunny. I think was like its greatest crime, besides the main girl not being as cute as it sort of should have been. Was like the comedy just didn't really work. A lot of the jokes were just like that kind of remind the main girl getting embarrassed because she's like this. That's like a sex thing, but then it's like, wait, it wasn't a sex thing the whole time. So I don't know. It's got a bit of the harem thing going on, but it doesn't really go anywhere with it. At least not. I only watched 2 episodes, but I, this is very manga. This is a very manga type of show. Like the manga's probably better. The manga's probably ecchier as well, I would assume, or maybe not. I don't know. The large breast is the number one tag. Uh, I don't know. Maybe the manga's better, but yeah, the anime didn't really do much for me. It might be worth picking up the manga at some point, but I have other priorities. Let's re-roll. Okay, we re-roll and we get Hime Kishi wa Barbaroi no Yome. First fantasy, proper fantasy show. Uh, Seraphina, the worst's fiercest knight, expected torture when captured by barbarians. Instead, she got a marriage proposal. Marrying her sworn enemy is a hard no, but after seeing her wedding captor's culture and very pretty face, she may be tempted to swap her sword for a wedding veil. Get ready for the ultimate enemy. Oh, I don't know about this one. I don't know about this one, guys, but hey, we give everything a fair shot here. I could have finished that Mistress Kanan show. I could have finished it. Like, there's a universe where I finished that show. But anyway, let's move on. I just finished Hime Kishi wa Barbaroi no Yome. Hime Kishi wa Barbaroi no Yome. Hime Kishi no Barbaroi no Yome. Okay, we did it. I just finished this show, and I thought it was excellent. I thought it was excellent. It avoided so many of the it's like it's perfect how it demonstrates specifically how to avoid the pitfalls I've been pointing out with other shows. It manages to do romance without that romance becoming cloying, even though there's not much progress in the romance over the show. It remains entertaining the entire time, and I'll talk about how. In fact, I'll do that right now. Um, Well, because it has so much more to offer. Because it has so much more to offer. Because the characters are actually multidimensional and interesting. And because the world keeps expanding, which is so well done. It's so well done. The way you're, the you're introduced to, there's always new characters, there's always new places, there's more details about the magic system, there's more details about different species, there's more details about politics, there's more details about, everything. You're always learning something new with every episode. You're learning something new about the world, or you're learning something new about these characters, and it keeps you interested. And there was a universe where this show would have been bad if it really had been just focused on the central romance and had just ignored all of its interesting stuff and had just been this sort of sappy romance. And that universe comes true. It's like in Evangelion where they do the episode to show you what Eva would have been like if it was a normal anime. In episode 8 of this show, they do an episode which is dog shit. It's a terrible, it's the worst episode of the show by far, to the point where I think if you're watching, you should just skip episode 8 because it's terrible. Um, and in that episode, it's like you get to see what the show would have been if would have been like if it was bad. This is what the show would have been if it was a terrible rom com. If it was what this fucking description says it is, which is like, oh, a stupid little enemies to lovers um rom com where this knight girl falls in love with this barbarian king guy. Oh, it's like a you know sappy, misunderstandings, dog shit. You get one episode of that where it's just the same. It's just one unfunny joke that lasts an entire episode and is fucking pointless. I'm not actually going to tell you to skip that episode if you do decide to watch this show because there's some mildly plot important stuff, mostly right at the beginning and right at the end of the episode, but it's terrible. Episode 8 is fucking terrible. But the rest of the show is great because it's nothing like that. It's nothing like episode 8. You join Serafina, the main character, as she enters this new world. And unlike, do you remember that Nihon Sangoku show from last episode? Like, and this is exactly how you're supposed to do world building. They never have a moment where someone just turns to the camera and does stupid exposition. They build it out slowly. They build it out slowly. Who is this Serafina person? First, we introduce her character. Okay, first, it's like, oh, she's in a weird situation. Then, flashback. How does she get here? During the flashback, we establish some basic characterization. Okay, I'm curious to see what's going on. Then, we expand. But we still haven't left a single room, basically, aside from the flashback. Like, the main character has not left the single, we're learning about this society of the barbarians along with the main character, and that's a main thrust of the show, is learning about these people's way of life and learning to adapt to a different way of life and learning to love a different way of life, uh that it's not just focused on this romance, it's focused on cultural exchange, cultural practices, ways of living, different, and there's like political intrigue. There's stuff going on in terms of like world building on multiple different levels. There's like a magic system that's interesting. There's world building in terms of like species and whatever, but there's also world building in terms of like geography and like, you know, why are these two people at war with each other? What's the history? Oh, you get a little drip feed of that, right? You get drip feeds of it. And it's like, yeah, there's some stuff that's a little dumb. Sure, it's not like a perfect show or anything. There's some stuff that's a little dumb from time to time. Um, but generally, it's good, and there's character progression with the main girl. You see her grow, and it happens relatively quickly. Like not at a fucking snail's pace. She grows across. It's actually extremely satisfying seeing her go from where she is in episode 1 to just where she is in like episode 5, right? Like from someone who is never, just been this knight on campaign and sees these barbarians as just like enemies and like bandits, right? To, getting along with everyone in their like town and like living off the land with them and whatever, and falling in love with one of them and so on. It's like you get this very satisfying character progression. And then there's another character who's introduced who is actually in a very similar position. There's multiple characters who are in similar positions as the main character, right? There's this other girl from like the church who also is a similar thing, right? Later on in the show, she comes and is sort of forced against her will, sort of, to live in the village, right? Stays there of her will, but initially, and you see how because of her different character, yes, she grows over time in a similar direction to not hate it there, but also in a very different way. She has her own completely different way of adapting to her circumstances. And then there's a character who's been there for a long time, and you see her how she's adapted. Like there's strong characterization underlying everything. The main girl is cute. You know, what more needs to be said? It's just good. It's just solid stuff. Like it dodges these problems. It doesn't have the stupid romance problems where nothing ever goes anywhere and the comedy isn't funny. You know, and it's focused too strongly on just one or two characters who actually aren't very interesting. It doesn't have that because there's so much more going on in the world. There's more going on with the characters, but then beyond that, there's more going on with the world. There's other places to go. There's people to meet. There's things to see and do, you know, and motivation behind all of it. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, it actually is interesting. Wow, who'd have thought when you actually know how to write, you can make a good story? Who'd have fucking thought about it? Uh, visually, is the show the prettiest thing to ever exist? They're clearly pushing their budget and time as far as it will go. Okay, there's some scenes where it's like you can tell that they're reaching the limits of what they can accomplish within their means. It comes off a bit jank. Like right at the start, there's a big battle sequence, and it's like you can tell they're trying their hardest and they put a bunch of time into it, but it looks janky, right? But the show generally looks good. The art style is strong enough to carry it, and most of the time it's there's some action scenes. There's plenty of action. Um, it's not just a slice of life romance rom-com thing. There's fights, there's action stuff, there's political stuff, there's all sorts of things going on, It's got a lot going on. Things are always happening. That's why episode 8 feels so weird, because it's the one episode where nothing fucking happens. Um, and it's just all focused around this stupid cheesy rom com misunderstandings bullshit that doesn't go. It's stupid. Um, and the central romance is actually pretty cute. The central romance is solid, but it's like this author actually fucking knew what they had. They were like, okay, well, we've got this idea, but I know this isn't going to be enough to carry an entire story, so I'll add some stuff around it, and this can be like the central emotional through line that makes you care about the other stuff I'm going to add. Wow, who'd have fucking thought about it? You establish good character relationships, and then you establish the world outside of those character relationships, and now you have motivated and interesting, multifaceted characters to experience the things you want to happen to them, and then the audience can actually play along. Who'd have fucking thought you could do something like that in 2026? Holy shit, man. How fucking hard is it? It is not that hard. Obviously, the show doesn't even have good ratings because no one knows what a good anime is other than me. Everyone has just absolutely dog shit taste and no one. It's like depressing. It's genuinely depressing because, like, people who are like me who have waited for the season to end, but to watch some stuff or whatever, or people during this season while it was airing, they will have looked at the seasonal charts and they will have seen a fucking 69 and they will have gone, no, I'll watch season 2 of Wistoria. No, I'll watch some other bullshit. You know what? Let's watch fucking Classroom of the Elite season 27. Like, let's watch, like, look, I have nothing against Otaku ni Yasashi Garu wa Inai. Okay, I have nothing against that show. I didn't finish it, but if you like it, then go ahead. But like, undoubtedly, there's no fucking question in my mind that these are not on the same level. If you want to watch a romance, I mean, obviously they're very different. This is more like a harem situation. But the other thing is, Hime Kishi actually it goes a little further with the ecchi. Like when it's not like overly ecchi, right? Like it's not, you know, I wouldn't just, it's probably tagged with ecchi if I look down. No, it does have a nudity tag, but no ecchi tag. Okay, there's no tag with ecchi. I would not tag it with ecchi. I wouldn't say it's an ecchi show, but it's a show that when it's necessary will have a bit of an ecchi scene. It will have it, and when it's appropriate and it's done well. Whereas some of these other shows, I'm thinking of Otaku no Yasashi Garu right now. They just pussy about it. They just pussy about it and won't show any boob. Give me a bit of boob when it's necessary. When it's necessary, you know. Uh, it's a cast of lovable characters in an interesting world doing interesting things. I love the dwarves. They got dwarves in there. I love a trope, a little bit of a spoiler, but I love dwarves, favorite fantasy race, and I love the trope of dwarves that are like way more technologically advanced than everyone else, but they just keep it to themselves. That's really fun. That's always been cool to me. Uh, the first time I saw that, I think was in like Skyrim. I know, I like that. They do a bit of that here. It's not the best I've ever seen it done, but it's fun. It's fun. It's a fun show. It's generally lighthearted, but it knows when to do its moments of, you know, again, in the first two episodes, there's like a couple moments where I'm kind of thinking to myself, oh, is this gonna become like a melodrama? But no, it never takes the bait. It never does it, the thing. It never does it has the possibility to do the thing and it chooses not to. It's like I could make this like a really sappy, melodramatic bullshit, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna use moments of heightened emotion, which sometimes get a little sappy, and I don't necessarily know my favorite parts of the show, but I'm gonna use them appropriately at high moments in the emotional arc. And while sometimes, in my opinion, it went too far, or some of those moments were perhaps not as earned as they could have been, generally speaking, they never took away from my enjoyment of the show. They were sprinkled where appropriate, even if not always executed that well. Um, yeah, do I have anything else to add? I don't think so. I could probably talk for longer. I could probably find some other stuff to talk about, but yeah, this is gonna get about. You know what? I am gonna rate this. I'm gonna rate this as 7. Yeah, boom, 7. Could it be an 8? I think if there's a season 2, there's a possibility for it to jump up to an 8. Like, there's so much more to do with this world that a season 2 could, like, it feels like the beginning. This feels like we've only just begun to learn about what's going on with this world. We've only just, there's teasing. It ends on a tease of a season of like what's going to happen next, right? Uh, in the last episode. So like, there's plenty of opportunities for it to progress further, and the characters' relationships do meaningfully progress, if slowly. But it doesn't feel like it's slowly. Here's what's happening, okay? In a show like whatever, bullshit, where the romance progresses slowly, it's like, oh, this is just painful. But here, I'm like, oh, the romance is progressing slowly because they're busy doing shit. They're always doing shit. So like, of course, the romance, which is like always there in the background, but only occasionally comes to the forefront. Like, yeah, that's not they're doing other shit and growing closer through doing shit together. And so naturally, it's like, they're not fucking in episode 3. Like, yeah, that makes sense, I guess. Uh, but like, obviously, I the progression would be nicer, but there is progress. Like, there is material progress as the show goes on. Um, but like, it doesn't feel unnaturally slow. It doesn't feel like it's being manipulated for its serialized release nature. It feels like, no, they're just busy. Like, they're just you can see it. They're doing other shit. you know, the show is doing other things right now. But there's plenty of places for this to go, and I could see it going in some really interesting directions. Um, if this is a nice contained story with a beginning, middle, and end, it would be excellent. I have my doubts that that's what it will be due to the sort of whole manga serialized format. Who knows if that's going to turn out? I think as a nice story with a beginning, middle, and end, this could be amazing. There's so much interesting stuff you could do from here. The world that it's set up is has depth to it. It has materiality to it. Uh, but yeah, that's my recommendation. Hime Kishi wa Barbaroi no Yome, aka the warrior princess and the barbaric king. Uh, these motherfuckers don't know what they're talking about. You just can't listen to anyone other than me. You just can't because they don't know what they're talking about, and it makes me depressed and it makes me angry. That everyone who watches anime is just an idiot. These people are just sub-zero IQ. They don't know what's going on. They're seeing things with their eyes, but they're not. They're watching it on like 2x speed. They're not even reading the subs. They're scrolling Instagram reels on their fucking phone the whole time. And they're like, I didn't see any fight. I didn't see any frames. I didn't see any fucking. Hold on. You're telling me Studio Mappa didn't murder 50 animators in order to sacrifice them to the gods when producing this anime? Not interested. Not interested. I mean, how much torture was involved? I mean, not interested. That's the average anime fan. These people need to die. Okay, so I'm kind of in my going to sleep type of I'm in my going to sleep era, but I thought let me roll, see what I get. Maybe I'll watch it. And what I got was actually Psycho. It's the beginning after the end, season two. Beginning after the end, season two, and I actually watched the beginning after the end season one. You can see I gave it a fucking four. I think I should have given it a three. Frankly, I'm gonna downgrade it to a three because it is pretty bad. It's pretty damn bad. I don't see season two being any better, especially given the super low score. I know we were just talking. I mean, this has a really low score as well. Uh, Generally speaking, isekais get low scores, but I did not enjoy season one very much at all. So technically, I could watch season two, but I'm not going to. Like, what's the point? It's just a default fail. So we're gonna roll again. Uh, I'm gonna get Kirio Fanclub. Let's see. What is Kirio Fanclub? All right. I don't know if this looks particularly good. This is almost certainly a fail and not a finish. I'll watch one episode right now, and if it's good, then I'll finish it tomorrow in the morning. Uh, and then I'll edit and post the video. If it's bad, then I'll just watch that one episode, and then this will be a video. I just finished Kirio Fanclub, and I don't even know what to say. Low key a masterpiece. Low key a masterpiece. Um, Cried my eyes out at the last episode. Um, I don't know what to say. It's got everything. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll do a bit of everything in between. I woke up with a temperature, like a fever, mild. Um, I'm like sick, so my brain isn't working, which might be why I think this show is like the best. I might be like slightly delirious right now. Um, but okay, where do I even start? Where do I even start? Because there's so much that I just like. I feel like I can't sum up in words. Like you just gotta watch it, and there's stuff that I don't want to spoil as well. Uh, it's the first thing to say is it's a comedy, and that's obviously subjective. Like people are gonna have different tastes, and I can 100% imagine someone watching this and just being like, "This isn't funny," but for me, I found it fucking hilarious. Um, it's subjective, but why does the comedy work? It's a question that you can't really answer. It's just some intangible thing. But for me, I thought, you know, number one point to the show, it's a comedy that's really funny. And there's nothing more you can really say about that. You can't really analyze that any deeper than it's funny. But it's also much more. I wasn't expecting it at all. This completely blindsided me. And once again, it goes to show I was skeptical going in. You heard me being skeptical going in. I looked at the ratings. I should just never look at ratings because these guys don't know what the like. This is twice that these guys just don't know what they're doing in a row. These motherfuckers are just idiots. It makes me mad because there's me, and I happen to be watching everything this season. But a lot of seasons I don't watch everything. I just watch whatever seems interesting to me. And if this had showed up on a random seasonal chart, I would not have clicked it. I would not have watched this show. I would have seen the low rating. I would have seen the cover. I would have seen the title, and I would have been like, "This is nonsense. Like, what the fuck?" But I would have read this. This is a horrible description. And I would have been like, yeah, no, it doesn't seem that interesting. And I would have completely missed out on it. But immediately upon watching the first episode, I was like, oh, it's funny. Oh, wait a second. It's actually funny. And I thought to myself, just to sum up the plot real quick, I know I read out the thing, but it's not like this is not a love triangle situation. It's hard to describe what it is. It's the show I can think to compare it to might be like Asobe Asawase. Let's see, what are they comparing it to? Yeah, this is what I would say it's comparable to. Um, it's the premise is kind of indescribable, but what happens as it goes on is it uses this comedic foundation that you get to know these two central characters through their jokes and their humor and their rapport with each other. And that's just super effective at making you care. And they're so well developed. There are so many characters that get introduced as the show goes on. And so when it gradually, as it continues, it becomes more and more dramatic. And the comedy never goes away. In fact, even in the last episode, it's a super dramatic scene at the end. And still, they find ways to inject humor into it that really works. And it gives you this, you know, incredible bittersweet emotion where you're like laughing, but you're also crying because it's like very dramatic. But then something funny happens. It's just great. The writing is just incredible. I will say the translation is terrible. And it's not entirely their fault. There's a lot of puns. There's a lot of Japanese puns, and so there's a lot of stuff that it doesn't translate. So I think you're only going to really get the most out of the show if you at least have a. You should have like a basic knowledge of Japanese going in, because uh, you're gonna miss out on a lot of jokes if you don't know at least. I'm sure I missed out on a bunch of jokes too. I know I did. There were some moments where I heard a joke, but I didn't understand what the Japanese joke was. And the English joke is something completely different, like what they try and put in the subtitles. Uh, well, it's some sort of pun. So I know I missed out on some stuff, which is a bit of a shame. But generally, there's a lot of puns and some of that's untranslatable and it just is what it is. But also the subs are generally kind of bad. They put in some like slang that's inappropriate. They mistranslate stuff for no real reason to make it like flow more naturally, but then you're like missing what's actually being said. So like I recommend having, you're gonna get the most out of the show if you at least know a little bit of Japanese. Um, if you do speak Japanese, watch it in Japanese. Obviously, you're probably already doing that. Um, but I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. It's the like the show gets pretty heavy. Like the show gets like at first the joke is that these two girls are obsessed to like an absurd degree with this guy. And yet when you finally see the guy, he's the most plain, boring, kind of like gloomy guy ever. And they're like and it's like funny from that gap. But then you learn more about Kirio himself and like why he's like that, what his backstory is. You learn more about the girls' backstories. You introduce all of these side characters who are all incredible and all bring their own twists and personalities to the narrative, and they all play off of each other. And it's a great sort of exploration of high school life, but even just life in general, where things can be really sad and really funny at the same time. Life doesn't sit around and wait for an opportune moment to hit you with something funny. Sometimes something fucked up's going on, and then something funny happens, and you're like, "What is going on?" And it's just funny. You know what I mean? You must have had experiences like this. Or sometimes you're having a great time, and then something fucked up comes along out of nowhere with you know, there's no foreshadowing in real life. It just happens. Tone shifts just happen in real, it really effectively, and just the feeling of being, seishun, it's a very seishun anime in the best way possible. Um, I don't, yeah, I mean, it's like it's hard to put my thoughts into words, especially because I don't want to spoil too much about the show. Uh, but yeah, what works so well about it, and there are some moments where I think it oversteps, where I think it gets too melodramatic, but those are honestly, it has such a strong core, to use maybe a bit of a mimetic term. It has so much soul. It has so much soul in it that I can like still buy into those moments emotionally because it uses this strong tactic. It almost a bit like Sakamoto Desuka gets a little bit like this, where it's you know the having this comedic introduction to the two central characters and having their sort of comedy act, their relation be, you know, it's the sort of jokes that you can imagine cracking with your friends. You know what I mean? Uh, that carries it. That means that they can get away with going to darker places. They can get away with more melodramatic scenes, and it knows when to pull back. Like there's a scene. I don't know if I should spoil exactly what happens because it blindsided me and I found it hilarious because I wasn't expecting it. But there's a scene somewhat later on in the show, which is a super dramatic scene between the two main girls, right? And they use the entire premise actually as the setup to an absurdist joke, basically, which is like such a bold decision, and it works so fucking well. Like this is not a show that uses humor to undercut and like cut the tension of its melodramatic scenes. It's a show that uses humor to enhance the melodrama, and it uses the melodrama to enhance the humor. Like it just works. It almost shouldn't work, but it does. It just works. It's got so much soul to it. I started watch. The reason I kept watching it was because of the comedy, but then you know what kept me coming back was the central characters and their relationships. And everyone's goofy, everyone's wacky, but at the same time, everyone's very grounded, right? It's got this incredible balance of like comedic characters who are outlandish in their personalities, and yet simultaneously a perfect level of emotional believability where everything just works. Um, and it tells a full story. Like it has a start, middle, and end. It doesn't it goes somewhere, and it has an ending. It has a real fucking ending. It's not just serialized. This is designed to go on forever and never reach any conclusion, and the status quo never changes. No, the status quo changes, and the show has a full arc. Every character has a full arc and a full backstory and full character realization. Every character, which is incredibly impressive, and it all happens in this big bombastic final scene, uh, which takes up sort of the big chunk of the last episode, which is what I'm just coming off, so I'm riding that high. But in the sort of earlier half of the show or earlier part of the show, it's more comedic, and the comedy is strong. So it's got a little bit of everything. Not really. That's not really true. It's just got these sort of absurdist comedy juxtaposed with um sort of melodrama, romantic melodrama. I guess there's not even just romance. It's just about like human relationships in general. It's not just about romance because friendship is also a big part of this story. Um, it's just uh, it's just great. It's just incredibly well written. That's all I have to say about it. I mean, You should watch this show. This is a sleeper fucking hit. This is a real diamond in the rough. Um, and I've struggled to find the words to say why it's so affecting. And again, perhaps I'm just delirious from this sickness, but something about it just hits different. There you go, Kirio Fanclub, strong recommendation. And now I'm gonna edit this video, upload it, and then I'm gonna start the next episode right now.